Mysore Sandal Hand Wash in 10 different fragrances.
Super 10, super clean.
Begin the conversation between the author of Furrows in a Field, Mr. Sugata Srinivasa Raju, who is a senior journalist and writer of national and international repute, and Mr. T.Venkatesh, a top human rights lawyer. Mr. Venkatesh is best known to many as someone who represents the poor, the needy, the politically victimized and the marginalized. We welcome both of them and request them to take the stage now. Over to
you. It's such a privilege today that I have been called to have a conversation with the author of such a wonderful, lovely book, The Life of History. It has been my fortune that long before it saw in print, I had an opportunity of listening to it, the entire narrative from the author himself. It was such a privilege. And for me, more than that was knowing about a person whom we all think we know him. And do we really know him? What is his persona? What exactly is his thinking? What is his way of his approach towards life, his own life, and how he impacted the lives of so many millions over this nation and every part of this country. It was such a reading, it was such a listening to such a wonderful life. I felt first of all that what kind of a person I am, that we never made an attempt even to know such great personality, the kind of life that he had led, the kind of life that's possible. In fact, in my quote I just said that Mr. H.C. Devegowda's life is celebration of democracy. Devegowda's life is something that a constitutional democracy can make it possible. And that's something which is so dear to my heart to share. With that, I feel that this narrative could not have been presented by anyone else other than Sugata. I was so thankful to Sugata of his amount of research, the methodical research that he employed in collecting information from the archives across the country, interviewing so many people. If you were to read this book, it demonstrates not just the life of Mr. Devegowda, how he impacted, influenced the very thought of this nation to so many people. In fact, that's when I say that it is celebration of democracy. It's because if you were to, once you read this book, you will know. My statement would be indicated that it is celebration of democracy. More than anything else, today we have been told to restrict myself to the subject of the day, rivers. Rivers are an integral part of the life of Mr. H.C. Devegowda. If you were to look into that book, the chapters which my learned friend Sugata would be presenting you a few excerpts of the book, that would clearly show the person. In fact, I reread these pages, and it was a shocker for me that the kind of expertise that he had. In fact, we had this statement from one of the most loved. I'm a lawyer, so we love for learning. He is the, we always call, in fact, we take the name in a very short form as we reach very high, and we call Folly. his statement, the way he presented the life of Sri Gowda and our most beloved MNV, Venkatachalaya, the way the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice expressed, it was a joy to see the kind of understanding, because all of them have seen him through. I was born when he became legislator. And I see the book, once you go through that, you will see the journey of this democracy. It's a journey of this democracy in all these years. I think that's something which makes me feel more and more enthused to speak on this particular amazing life, because it also means that what we learn from such a lovely life, what we learn from a secular nation is to be supposed to be, what exactly the nature of our intercourse with each of us. I think that makes, always I keep telling, that once you read this book, you will feel that yes, this life is celebration of democracy. So with that, I would like to start on the subject of the day today. For me, there's one question which I always, I did go through this chapter. He's a farmer. I also come from a whole village. It's natural for us. We talk regarding farming, we talk in terms of fertilizers, we talk in terms of want of rains coming from a very dry land area. So we talk in terms of want of rains, we talk in terms of sufficient rains, insufficient rains. We do talk all these aspects. But we look into this particular chapter regarding the way we talk of KRISHNA and God, the first two subjects which he has made life different for millions of farmers in this world. How could you calculate? For me, one question which always lingers is that with all the technical specifications in this particular life of Mr. Stephen, is that what makes him so different? What makes him that particular relating to this issue of Kaveri and Krishna? I have a very interesting anecdote regarding Krishna is concerned. I will come to you later.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening. Everything else, the most obvious thing was Kaveri. Because Kaveri was something that he was so much associated with. And he was so much associated that people thought that was the only thing that he did in his life. So when I started exploring the Kaveri thing, I mean, a friend of mine who had worked very closely with Mr. Farid Haribu told me that Kaveri, you will be sort of completely disappointed if you just focus on the Kaveri, because Kaveri was a legal dispute. Kaveri's development had happened during the time of the Maharaja, and there were a lot of other small little things that had to be done, but it was essentially a legal dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, because there was a very lopsided kind of agreements that had taken place during British India, and there was a whole lot of issues to build new dams or to allocate water, and you're now seeing what is happening with the Mekedadu thing, the controversy that has erupted. So he told me that it was only a legal dispute. Of course, Mr. Devegowda is a fine legal mind, and he has helped navigate a lot of legal issues related to the Kaveri, but I think his real contribution is Krishna. So that is when something struck in my mind, and I wanted to understand what was his contribution to River Krishna. So that is when I started exploring his contribution to the Krishna Basin projects, and then I realized that all the projects that had happened, had been planned, had sort of been shelved because the World Bank had suspended its support because the progress on the projects were very tardy. Chief ministers and engineers, all these people had been taken it to an extent, but then they had not really sort of taken it forward, and the World Bank was extremely unhappy and had suspended loans to Karnataka twice. So that was the state when Mr. Devegowda became the Chief Minister of the state. That was in December 1994. And there was the Bachawat order that had been given, and Mr. Srinivas Murthy is here, he would know that we had to utilize, Karnataka had to utilize its share of water by 2000. So there was a very, very tight deadline for Mr. Devegowda. It was already December of 1994. He had exactly 5 years to fulfill the whole thing. So he gets going. And there is one thing that I point out in the book. Between 1989 and 1994, despite this deadline, the Pachawat deadline, the award had been given in 1976. And even then, Mr. Devegowda, as the leader of opposition, had worked with Mr. Devraj Aras to ensure and petition and get a larger share of water for Karnataka. And this deadline was 2000. And between 1989 and 1994, not a word had been spoken about it in the State Assembly. Nobody had bothered as to what to do to sort of get Karnataka its share of water. So Mr. Devegowda begins his planning. He realizes very early that rehabilitation is the biggest issue in Krishna. So if you don't sort out rehabilitation, it's going to be an enormous problem. The canal systems and other things will have to be built, of course, but rehabilitation was a serious issue. So what he does is he appoints a very, very efficient officer there, Mr. S.M. Jamdar, who speaks, whom I interviewed in my book. And Mr. Jamdar goes around doing things in a way that within a year or so, the World Bank sends its team and they are completely surprised. I in fact quote in the book the report that the World Bank had given when it suspended the loans and what it had said about the administration in Karnataka, and the report that they wrote in '96 after they saw a speedy kind of movement towards the kind of quality work that had to be done. So there are a lot of issues in that chapter that come up, how they went about doing it, what kind of compensation. You see, that kind of compensation which was awarded by Mr. Devegowda, which was 4 times more than what was being awarded at that point of time. See, it's unthinkable today, because to increase compensation for the farmer who was surrendering his land 4 times is not a joke. He was the finance secretary. He will tell you he wouldn't give a penny to anybody. So this was something that was astonishing, because there is a small little thing that happens. He says, Mr. Devegowda and his team studies the legal orders till then, and they realize that farmers have been going to courts, fighting legal battles for 20-30 years, and the courts at the end of that legal battle have been escalating the thing by 4 times. So he decides that don't worry, give them 4 times straight away. So, and he decides that farmers, see, this is a very important thing. He tells that farmers are not beggars. They have surrendered their land for the development of this state. So we have to treat them with respect. So you shall go to their doorstep and disperse this money. He not only does that, he had, Mr. Jamdar recounts in my book, that there was a huge, everywhere they went to disperse money, there's always this claims and counterclaims and disputes when it comes to compensation. So he sort of organizes Gram Sabhas. So everybody in the village knows whose land it is, how much it has been surrendered. So when they speak out or announce the compensation, people are right there, checking the veracity of the claims. And checks are being written. And I tell you, one particular day, even 40 crores was dispersed. Now you tell me, if that was the speed of disbursement of compensation and development work that we saw in those 2 years Mr. Devegowda was Chief Minister, and just imagine if he had continued as Chief Minister, which Mr. Jyoti Basu, he tells Mr. Jyoti Basu later when he's made the Prime Minister that, sir, please don't bring me to Delhi. I want to be the Chief Minister of my state like you for 25 years, minimum. And I'm sure he would have been voted back, because the kind of work that he was doing at that point of time, it could be communal harmony. Nobody recalls today. You see so much of tension today in the state. You see the kind of irresponsible statements being made by chief ministers and ministers. The manner in which he sorted out the Eidgah Maidan thing was remarkable. You know what I mean? No bloodshed, nothing. He just, and Mr. Devegowda was one who never went to the press and told how he sorted out something. that is Mr. Devegowda. He would do it in such a way that people would just know only after he has sorted out. So I speak about the Eidgah Maidan thing there.
We have in North Karnataka, I have studied in Dharwad, traveled, practiced in all the districts in North Karnataka. We have a saying in North Karnataka about Almatti. Because anyone who is a dreamer, Almatti Jangama. Almatti Jangama is somebody who dreams forever. Many times he is called foolhardy. This was the statement which people made when I was a young lawyer in Dharwad, law student and the practitioner in Bellary, and I used to have cases in corporate other places. Many people used to call Mr. Devegowda Almatti Jangam because he is a dreamer. Is this going to happen? Because Upper Krishna project was going on for such a long period of time, long before even my father got married. So the subject was something which is always there. It's going to happen. So when he said that he is going to do something, he said he was Almatti Jangam. In fact, for me, when my colleague, they sent him to a litigation in the case wanted to make an inquiry. I'm a litigating lawyer. He went to Almatti and he came back and told me, he's from Pandavapura, sir. And he told me, sir, Sagara, sir, an area which had literally no irrigation. Today, millions of families have a wonderful life in the city. Thanks to you, sir. I have very interesting two anecdotes on it. Sorry. The first anecdote that you have referred to in this book is about lawyers. I'm worried about my fraternity too. Almatti was a project where lawyers made the kill. They made the killing. In fact, my friend who started with me practicing in Koppal, in no time, his practice flourished to such a degree. I was still going in the red bus of KSRTC. He had already constructed a lodge in Koppal. And he was busy because he was virtually taking over villages for his land acquisition cases. And one fine morning, I was staying in his lodge. The manager came and told me, my boss is in serious trouble. So you have read it in the book that Mr. Devegowda had made it impossible for lawyers to make some killing. So he made it possible that all the money goes directly into the farmer's pocket. It's a one-time settlement. The whole construct of land acquisition.
And the lawyers did a dharna. They marched to Bangalore in protest that they had lost cases.
A couple of them called me to file a PAL also. There's a kind of story that you have. The question is that it made possible life easier. Second anecdote which I wanted to add is that of a very interesting litigation I was conducting, in which I was supposed to make a witness wait under pressure and make him say that agree. He was the interested witness, but well trained. We had our intelligence from the police department, everybody. They said that he is a very difficult person to crack. So I did cross-examine him for nearly 2 days, sir. He did not budge an inch. So I had to find something. And I asked the client what exactly was he doing. He said he was selling tea powder to a number of the small hotels in Guled Good, place in Balapur district, Village Good, Badami, Kerur, and all these places. I said, when he had so little money, how could he get this kind of tenacity to stand this thing? So then I inquired what exactly he does. He's a small time politician. So I took my luck, started cross-examining him. So that he is good, so he helps people. I wanted to demonstrate that he was an interested witness. An interested witness, one court should not believe him. So that's how they tried to push him. They started telling him and they started inquiring. Then he made the statement, very interesting thing, that I have stopped selling tea powder, sir. So he was making a statement. Then he said, why have you stopped selling tea powder? He said, sir, there is water in my village. My lands are irrigated. Then I asked him, now what do you do? So I have income, I am doing politics. Then he explained, as he started asking me, I said that he knows all these people, he knows police, he knows the case, and I could establish that he wasn't interested in this. But in the process, he demonstrated, he said that not only me, there are so many who have benefited from this, sir, not just me. Thank you, sir.
This, I think, there can't be a better example of being a man of his word. Just wanted to share this.
Thank you.
After having heard all this, and we really know, because of you, not because of the press, no, because of you, that what a great man we have produced. Not only just Karnataka, but India. But I think the best tribute to Mr. Devegowda would be that we make it very clear to the government of India, if anybody deserves the Bharat Ratna, it's Mr. Devegowda.
This is something which we keep hearing. What's the measure of a man? We all look, we pursue our lives. We do so much of work, so much of positions for the progeny. What's the measure of a man? One thing which we look into on this aspect, irrespective of the faith which you are in, whichever the faith you believe in, or if you don't believe in, you're just human. The measure of a man is that how many lives that you have touched, how many lives that you have touched in your lifetime. If you look at the life of this great soul before us, I had an opportunity to be here in a small town, be addressing, being part of a program, being part of a celebration of this nature, a life so well lived, a life which is a model, a life which I would love to tell everyone out that if you want to make your life, you want to see how you are measured, see how many lives you have touched. Sir, today we are talking on the rivers from North Karnataka, coming from North Karnataka, having traveled villages in Kushti, Kokpur, Lingsuru, you name the villages. You are the Bhagirath. You have touched so many millions of households. We used to go Gule, to Goa for work, Bombay for work, Hyderabad for work. Once only, not that the people were poor. Each one had 4 acres of land, 10 acres of land, but he could not earn a square meal with that. You have made him comfortable. You have made life possible for them. You have made many of the children get education that was denied. Thank you, sir.
I would like to read quickly a quote by H.D. Devegowda which says, "Having a good and cultured family background was not enough to be successful in politics. One should live amidst farmers, till land and tend cows and buffaloes." And I think today is a very symbolic moment, because with what India is currently going through, all we need at this moment is harmony. Harmony in our homes, our families, religious harmony, political harmony. And before we conclude, we have also with us a noted eminent personality who heads inter-religious cultural harmony across India and is a leading mark in Karnataka. He is Dr. Father Victor Lobo, the principal of St. Joseph's College.
When Mr. Devgara was the Prime Minister, there was total harmony in this country. We all agree that. But today, if you see what is happening in the world is, and the image of India is getting spoiled. I attend a lot of international conferences, and people tell me, what is happening to your country? Why is this division? Why is there attacks on minorities? That is labeling of some Indians, I don't say Indian community, Indian religions, Indians. Why is labeling? In short, they say, why is the Talibanization of India, of Indian democracy? And at this moment, I feel, we as Indians should make a soul searching, an examination of consciousness, soul searching and examination of consciousness of our own selves, of our own country, where we are heading towards, what we are up to, what will happen to our people, our Indians, I mean. Shall we make this country a country of fear-free country? We have to set this image from among in the globe, how this India is an abode of love, peace, harmony. Where could be Ram Raja? It could be also an Islamic Ummah, a kingdom of God, what we Christians say. Can we make this country a harmonious and abode of love?